There we go. So welcome. This conversation, we're going to talk about confidence. We're going to talk about change. We're going to talk about stress, how to build in recovery to your plan. And we're going to cover a couple of other things that I hope are really helpful. So I'm Vitamin P coaching. My wife calls me Vitamin P because she says I'm like a vitamin, that I give her energy every day when she talks to me. I'm glad she didn't call me or need painkillers to deal with me. So that's a really good thing. But I've been coaching for years. I care deeply about this work, and I care deeply about everybody on this call, whether you're watching it now or you're watching it afterwards. And I'm really happy to help in any conversation that might help with stuff like this. My wife is top left. This is Katie. She'll hate that I'm showing a picture of her, but that's why I do it. I married her 2 years ago. I've been dating her for roughly 10, and I love her dearly. She's really important to me. This is Mary. Mary's not a relation. Mary is a friend of mine. She's 96 at the end of March, and she was a customer of mine in the bank when I was a teller there. And she used to come in every Wednesday, and she would just share wisdom. So she's a friend of mine now. I call into her every Wednesday when I'm home in Navan to visit her. The next picture is my cat. Next picture is my dog, Elvis. He's a pup. And then this was me last year speaking in front of roughly 250 personal trainers and gym owners about roughly what we're going to talk about today. You'll see this slide here is the next slide here. And I'm going to talk about change. So it's probably a good thing that you're actually not on live here in person, because what I would have you do in this next slide is an exercise where you get to experience change really quickly. But maybe hands up anybody that's experiencing change, any change in your life, different areas of your life, different things that are going on. Maybe hands up if that's true. Right? It's a few hands. Change is a constant. I know that's so cliche to say it, but it's true. So we will always, thanks Emma for using the chat. So we will always be experiencing change. Change is always what's going on in our bodies. From old to new, there's the cocoon phase, which is left out of this image. And that's deliberate. We expect change to be really clean, to go from one to the other. And we forget about the messy middle, the part where it's uncomfortable, the part where you want to retreat back to caterpillar, the part where you're not yet clear on what butterfly looks like, which again is back to that kind of vision of the future that we're aiming for and actually being able to work towards it. So there's different things that play out in this dynamic. And maybe as I walk through a few of these in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and say it, or just put your hands up if these resonate, or if they feel like this actually applies to you, just let me know. Are you going to ask something? Or you taking notes?
I'm just getting comfortable. Yeah.
So in change, this is going to be the first one. People will feel awkward, ill at ease, and self-conscious. So imagine the first day you walked into the gym. You didn't know where anything was. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know who was going to be there, what was going to be happening. Awkward, self-conscious, typically that will happen. You will judge yourself, or you'll pay attention, you get insecure within, not realizing that there's other people in the gym that would have experienced exactly the same thing. So we go inward and forget that actually this is the same for everybody when we experience change. The next one is, if you see change as new and habits and all that kind of stuff, there's only so much time in the day. So you think about everything that you have to lose. You're going to lose time with family, time with friends, time with kids. You're going to have to do meal prep, whatever these things are. You think you're going to give up time, energy, and attention typically when you think about change. Is that true? Do people kind of click with that? I'll pause every so often if people want to comment or share. Mark, Catherine, Amy, make sense? Yeah, Victoria, Linda. Yes, Rachel, thanks for commenting as well. So I'm listening because if you have questions, just ask away.
I'll ask me. I'll touch your shoulder, whatever.
So if we see change as giving up and losing, we're less likely to pursue change. So again, if we think about the opposite of these things, of what change can get us, change will cause these feelings of, you could say, self-doubt, because it's new. We haven't yet walked the path. But then on the far side of that, and we'll get to it in this conversation, there's confidence there, because you then walk the path And you end up, no, I have the confidence knowing that I can do it. Same with this. We think about what we give up with change. We forget what we'll get: more energy, new friends, new people that we spend time with, more efficient with our time, more recovery, all of these things that we can get from change, not just give up. If we keep going, the next one is really, again, where we go into ourselves and forget that we're not on our own going through these things, even if it feels like that. Other people will be going through these kind of same doubts, same feelings, same emotions, but actually that's okay. That's part of the journey. That's part of this process of change, is that these things will play out. The next is if you, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, let's say, everybody says, new year, new me. I'm going to change 1,000 things about myself. And then January 2nd, everybody goes back to who they were on New Year's Eve, right? So this is normal. We can only literally handle so much change. So when they say in the news or the media, change has never been accelerating so quickly. No, it has. It's just that we're just more aware of this stuff. So we now have models to map this stuff. So you can only handle so much change. So this is why I think what Kevin has on the wall, 1%, you'll see it there. This 1% better every day is the secret. One of this, like, there's lots of secrets to change, but this is one of them. If you break it down so micro that it's possible and you build evidence and consistency doing it, well, then you stack them over time, and 1% over a year is 37.68 times the difference that you would have had. Atomic Habits is there. Yeah, it's roughly that number.
Yeah.
On a graph, the impact of 1% better every day is profound. It's insane. And we forget that part. We think we have to do 37 times the change today. You're going to get fatigued from that. Just break it down to the micro, stack it, do it consistently, and that will scale over time. Does that make sense? Any reactions to that?
Great book for anybody if they haven't read it.
Super book. Very nicely written.
There's a couple of people that's on the chat there that's read it.
Nice. Any comments or reactions so far? Is this kind of feeling true? Any questions? Mark, you look like you have a question. Come on.
Mark always has a question. Come on, mate.
Victoria, Amy, and Andrew, thanks for saying that. Victoria, amazing book. Yeah, 100%. If people want book recommendations, I get asked this all the time. I'm happy to recommend a few if that's helpful.
Yeah, Victoria was asking me for some good ones the other day.
Kerry, mum guilt, great question. We'll get to that. Guilt is where you hold yourself to a really high standard that is typically always, every time, everyone, never, or these kind of all or nothing things. So there's no space for flexibility when it's all or nothing. So either I always am there for my child. So then when there's one day when you're not, you feel guilty because the standard is at a level that's unhittable. And so sometimes it's in the understanding of the standard, the rewriting of that standard so that it's fair. And also then being kind in the short term towards that so that you're patient with yourself as you change towards it. Hopefully that makes sense. I talked to a lady yesterday who has mum guilt too. She does a lot of travel for business, and she's literally had to rewrite the rules of what it means to be a good mum so that it actually fits more her life. She can hit it more often, and then she actually feels like she's winning at being a mum and in business, rather than feeling like she's doing neither of them well. So there's these unwritten rules that we try to live up to, conditioned from society of what Instagram tells us being a great mom, brother, sister, son. I forgot what I am there. Husband, wife, whatever it is. And then we really struggle to hit that. So it's just to come up with your own story of what good looks like, rather than what you're told good looks like. And there's less room for guilt in that story that you create versus what you inherit. Hopefully that makes sense. Nice. Thanks. I told you I can talk about these things. Please just share them. I'm so happy. I want this to be the best 4 hours of your life. All right. So please, I think somebody's eyes, Christine, your eyes went crazy there when I said 4 hours. But I'm really happy to answer these questions. The other thing is, it's in change. One of the dynamics that will happen is that we'll compare to other people, and typically we compare unfairly. And so people are at different stages of readiness to change. What that means is some people can change quicker. Some people literally biologically can get results quicker, literally from just their makeup, their genetic makeup. And we judge ourselves again, causing guilt, because the standard is external to us rather than what's appropriate or true for us. Hopefully that makes sense too. So people are at different levels of readiness. Just soften how you compare. Compare for inspiration, not defeat. And that will sometimes help you then move a little bit. It'll just help you make progress forward, not to retreat backwards. And sometimes that's the thing. That's the work in change. If I go back a slide, the work is not to worry about going back. The work is just to remind yourself what you're moving towards. But sometimes we're not clear on this, or it's somebody else's vision of this, not ours. So we haven't connected to it. The progress or the work is to just continue to move forward. Just continue to move. Try not to stand still. Standing still and having no vision of the future is called learned helplessness. It's a really hard place to be. You don't need to be there. Just continue to move forward. Always just one step is all that you need to see. If you want a really good book recommendation about that, people quote the quote quite often. The book is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. And he talks about, I think it's the horse is asked by, let's say it's the mole. I don't know what to do, or I have too much to think about, or I'm not sure that I can make it to, let's say it's, where are we? Kells? Yeah. I don't know that I can make it to Kells from Belfast. And the horse says to the mole, you don't need to see the whole journey. You just need to see the next step. If you can see the next step, just take the next step. Sometimes that's helpful. If we see change as giving up things, time, energy, and attention, we will think we only have so much of that. So we will think that we won't have enough resources. We're going to run out of time, energy, and attention. If we lose these things, we're only going to lose so much. So that's another thing about change. We forget again what we can get. It's an opportunity to ask for help. It's an opportunity to support and partner with other people, to get other people to step up and take more responsibility. You don't need to do all of this on your own. Hopefully that makes sense as well. And this next one as well is maybe just for anybody that's on the call and watching it now. What way do you fold your arms? Right? So if you're not holding a phone, if you can do this live, I'd really encourage you to do it. So I fold my arms like this. If I was to fold my arms the opposite way, I have to think about it. It feels unnatural. It feels like weird. It feels uncomfortable a little bit. So now the work change is folding your arms the opposite way, feeling those things, right? But we will always want to go back to what was comfortable before. Amy, I love that you're playing this out. Thanks a million. We can all, this is all recorded. We have this on camera now. You've been framed or something is going to get the recording. I'm just kidding. So we go back to what was, we go back to caterpillar, because that's what people knew of us. They know us as caterpillar. They expect certain things of us. We did certain things. Our habits were here. And so when we change, it's easier to retreat back because people expect this from us. It's normal. It's comfortable. We don't have to think about it. When actually, when we're folding our arms the opposite way, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel a bit weird, but there'll be a time when that's comfortable. There's people that, let's say your arm is in a cast, let's say for a year, you will learn to use your left hand to write and it'll become very good. New connections get made in your brain so that it can actually be just as efficient and useful. It'll never be just as natural because sometimes we have a preference, but it's very close to it. So you have that same ability and change with your habits, with any of these kind of thoughts or things that you want to work towards or change in your life. So it's just break it down, reward yourself every time that you fold your arms the opposite way and make sure to break it down that actually, no, it's going to feel weird. Just keep making progress. Keep taking the next step forward. Hopefully this stuff makes sense. Any questions so far? Victoria, you're off mute. Do you want to ask a question? Or any thoughts, Kevin? Any questions?
Just about change, when you're talking about change, well, I experienced that uncomfortableness quite a bit, going from personal trainer to gym owner, opening the gym, extending the gym, and now making the gym bigger, then getting coaches, then me stepping away from that to become the leader of the gym, to make the gym better for the coaches and better for the members. So that uncomfortable stage is every single time, but you just have to understand it.
Yes.
And be aware of it and face it.
Yeah, you understand it. You are kind to yourself in it. You get clear on what you're moving towards. And then you update the identity or how you describe yourself. So you said moving from coach.
From personal trainer to gym owner.
Right. So that's
Gym
an
owner.
identity shift.
Yep.
Gym owner to leader of gym.
Yep.
3 identity shifts. Yep. And again, in that book, Atomic Habits, I promise I'm not on commission. He talks about come up with the identity of the person that you want to become. Then you figure out the process or the habits. And then I think it's the outcome. So you get the thing because you focused on the process, because you know the identity. The identity could be, for example, I want to be a marathon runner. Process is you need to do some running for that. And then the outcome is you then achieve the thing. So it's sometimes helpful to kind of think about the identity, but often we don't allow our identity to be updated as we're making progress. So we lose confidence. So sometimes with confidence, and we get to this, there's a model that makes it really simple. We wait for confidence before we've done the thing, when actually confidence comes the opposite side of the thing. We just need to make sure we've reflected on the journey to catch it. Hopefully that makes sense as well.
So actually, Phil, the importance of changing the identity to maintain the new results is massively important.
Yes.
Because you can easily slip back to the old ways and the old identity when you're trying to create a new vision.
Yes. Because you're going to say, I'm not that type of person, or I wouldn't do that, or this doesn't feel normal or natural, or I could never do that. Right. So then you contain your identity, not holding the vision.
So when you're trying to change your identity, what advice would you give to someone on the first step to a new identity? Like someone that has never been to a gym before, maybe not feeling good enough, and they want to go to the gym. So, and they want to be that person that loses weight and become fit. So you want to, how would you, what would be the first step to changing the identity of the person that maybe has never been to a gym, but wants to be wants to lose weight and become someone that goes to the gym all the time? You with me? Yeah.
So then it's just get clear on, is it healthy? So sometimes it's get clear on current state.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's get clear on, so what would one up from that be? Oh, well, I'd be somebody who moved.
So just a shift in the identity.
Yeah, just subtle. And then that gives them possibility to move towards.
Right.
Rather than I'm going to be a CrossFit Games expert.
Yeah.
Within 4 weeks.
So that small shift, just
rather
than the big one.
And sometimes it's, for anybody here, it's get clear on where you're currently at or who you currently are. Realize that there's good and bad in that. So some will contain you, as in hold you back, and some will drive you. We can talk, maybe we do this part in person. I'm happy to come back, Kevin, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There's things we can talk about with your nervous system and how it gets triggered and changed to get more stressed. When you're more stressed, you're in survival states. You actually can't show enough of the good of who you are. We typically will gravitate towards negative thinking. So then you're never getting to express all of the good of who you are. We typically just focus on our negatives. We get clear on both the negative and that there's positives there. kind of about self-talk, Linda. Self-talk, we can say to ourselves, I'm an amazing person and whatever, but your body and brain will go, no, you're not, don't be lying. So self-talk has a value, but not if it's not true. So this is why it's always about stacking the evidence so that you convince your body and brain, no, it literally is true in the world, not just what I say to myself. Your body will resist this. So controversial opinion. This is some of why affirmations don't work all the time. They're helpful to have as an intention, but your brain sometimes will resist it, and that resistance might increase the negativity, not the opposite. We're getting probably a little bit deep, hopefully helpful. I love the section of Atomic Habits that says achieving a goal is on a momentary change. Nice. So Emma's asked, when you're going through change, what coping mechanisms do you recommend when you meet obstacles or fail? Fail, it's not failure, it's feedback on how not to do it. And that sounds too basic to be useful, but literally it's true. You will fail your way until you succeed. So failure is literally the next step. It's just a step towards the thing. We interact with failure as a stop sign rather than a speed bump. So if you soften the failure or the feeling of failure to be part of the journey and just a blip on the path, it won't stop you and make you retreat. It'll just make sure that you're committed to the journey so that you can move through it. That would be one. So it's nearly reframing what failure is or what obstacles are. Obstacles are typically things to overcome, so you develop the ability to overcome them. So they're actually development learning opportunity. So when you reframe challenges or failure or those things when it doesn't go right as redirection opportunities, it changes completely how personally you take it, and it makes a massive difference. When you meet obstacles to cope with the stress that it causes, that's a little bit different. Change involves stress. Stress needs recovery, then it leads to growth. If you just get stressed, you will retreat and go into survival. Stress plus recovery, you will grow and develop. When you go to the gym and you tear your muscles, so you add stress to them and you recover appropriately, your muscles will get as big as Kevin's. So I'm obviously not doing something right, right? But that's the truth. Literally, we can show this. This is all, anything I say about this kind of stuff, I can back with science and research and papers to back it up. So under stress, muscles will get bigger as long as there's appropriate recovery. It's the same with us. When we're under stress, imagine it's a muscle, and we add recovery. Typically, we're never overworked or overstressed. We're under-recovered. And if we go back to mum guilt, this is typically the people, some of the people that I work with, this is where it plays out. You're on at work. You're also on when you're at home, because you're not off when there's stressful things going around and children are always looking for stuff. So then you're always on, you're never off. So then, of course, there's no recovery. So the stress just builds up and it's suffering. It's really not a nice place to be. So the obstacles and coping mechanisms, build in recovery, build you into your calendar every week, as often as you can. We can go more detailed if it's helpful. I have videos that I'll send you videos I've recorded already on how to recover from stress, how to deal with pressure, because pressure is different. Pressure is something you put yourself towards. Stress is something that you experience in reaction to. So it's a little bit different.
The obstacles is always going to be there, Phil, though. You're always going to run into obstacles. What about revision or going back to your why? Or,
back to your why, back to your purpose, back to your vision, even just a rough vision of the future will pull you forward. So what they say is make decisions from vision, not circumstance. So if you make decisions from circumstance, you will limit it to the stress of today rather than the vision of the future that will pull you towards it. So if you make a decision from that vision of the future, it's attracting you forward rather than keeping you stuck within this kind of tornado or washing machine of today. Heather, you're saying very familiar, end up feeling like you're doing no one right, just a balancing act, 100%. And this is why, can I do blatant self-promotion?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's one of the reasons why I set up a really simple program called Close the Gap. where you have a challenge every day for 28 days. And more or less, Heather, one of the first challenges, I'll send you this video because I'm not in this to make money. I just want to help people move forward and grow and feel a little bit more human and better about themselves. I'll send this video in. Please put it into wherever you need to send it. And all it is this, I might actually, no, I don't have it on a slide. It's just a wheel that you would draw on your journal. So just on a blank page like this, you draw a wheel, loads of segments, and then you mark each of the segments like family, self, finance, work, relationships, fitness, whatever it is. Whatever number of segments you do, you label across the wheel. You rank each of those areas and just prioritize 3. So then you're not balancing all just yet. You're breaking it down to 3, and you're going to choose one action to improve each of those 3 areas. So then you're just doing 3 things to improve 3 areas, as in 1 each. Then you find that your wheel would start to expand. You're not overwhelmed by having to change everything. And then you start making progress, and that actually energizes you towards your life rather than feeling like it's weighing down on you.
Is that the wheel of life, is it?
Yeah. Really simple tool. I'm happy to send it through. No issue. Again, I want you all to win, whatever that looks like for you. Heather, hopefully that's helpful. The second part to the wheel of life thing, though, is change what good looks like within those segments. Make sure that you are writing it, not other people, and then live up to that standard. And hopefully that makes sense. Heather, it's super tool. So simple, but it's so useful. Are we doing okay? Everybody all right? Still making sense? Jill, I love your jumper. It's class. Alison, Claire, Amy and Andrew. All okay? David Rankin, that looks like a busy job that you're doing at the moment if you're doing your drilling. Robert, good, thank you. So because of these dynamics and how we feel about change and our beliefs about it, we lose trust or confidence in change. So it causes more self-doubt. So we resist change. So we resist the thing that might actually help us, and we retreat. So we stay caterpillars. We stay in this old, safe, known zone. And that gets really uncomfortable over time. And I don't want that for people. So if we understand your brain, there's 2 drives. One is literally your brain is designed to go out into the world to get food or whatever that is. So it's goal oriented, get food, move into the environment. Second part, the hardest part that we actually struggle with the most is what could kill you? What's going to hurt you? What's survival? How can I keep you alive? Typically what happens is this is out of balance. We forget this part. We pay all our attention to the doubts, the insecurities, the fear, the lack of confidence. All this kind of stuff gets our attention. Its intent is to keep us safe, but it feels really uncomfortable. And we forget the value of pointing our brain towards something in the future. If you don't give your brain something to solve, it will find problems that you don't want to solve. And then we wonder why we're overthinking. So a really good book about this part is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson.
Yep, it's up there. Should be up there.
Yes. Super book. Anybody that speaks to me and says, I want to get started in personal development, just start with that book. So easy to write, or sorry, so easy to read. Brilliant book. Please read it. If you want a copy and you don't want to pay for it, I'll buy you a copy. It's that good. It's just such a good book.
Or you can lend mine.
Or there's a book here, so take that copy, right? Super book. So now I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions to think about. I can see some people are writing. What's your version of butterfly? So what are the changes that you want to make in your life? Just take 1 minute to just think about what that might be for you. If anybody wants to share in the comments, or sorry, the chat, or you want to come off mute and share, I'm really happy for you too. Or just write it down for yourself.
that being stuck in the middle with no, not no goal and no vision, that you said was called learned helplessness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the dog lying on the electrocuted floor.
Right.
Talk about it after.
Learned helplessness.
Yeah.
It's a good example of having no short-term goal and no long-term goal in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I constantly talk to the guys at the gym about having short-term goals for the next month, and then where they want to be in 6 or 12.
Yeah.
So
So
they're constantly
I'll
aiming
dig
for
into that a little bit differently.
Okay.
So that's not learned helplessness, but it's
Right.
the feeling of lost. And then when they don't feel that they have an opportunity to solve it, that's learned helplessness.
Right. Okay.
So the path or the goal, the path is the opportunity to not be helpless. The goal is the direction for the path. So it gives it a meaning that's helpful.
Okay.
Does anybody want to share what they wrote? And no worries if not. The other thing I would think about as well is just share some of the cocoon phases that you've already overcome. So those kind of messy middles that you've already overcome. Everybody on this call has already overcome that. Difficulty, obstacles, failure, mistakes, things you would do differently, hurdles on the way to achieve something. Everybody has overcome those. We forget to reflect on those things we've overcome. So when we encounter something in the future that's an obstacle, we forget that evidence and we just greet this as new. It causes resistance or self-doubt. And then we wonder why we've no confidence. Right? But we've done this before. We've overcome things before. Just need to reflect on it. So again, we'll send out these slides after if that's helpful as well. The video recording will be in, you said your member site. So, and if people want more questions or reflection questions on stuff like this, I'm really happy to send. Again, I want you guys to win. And then this is a question of, on that left-hand side of caterpillar, what keeps you being a caterpillar? Who or what holds you back and why? Typically, answers will be family or friends. So for example, if you want to get up early on a Saturday or Sunday morning, but what's expected of you is your friends expect you to go out drinking the night before until late o'clock or early o'clock in the morning, that will hold you back from achieving what it is that you want. And the tension between those two things is really uncomfortable. There'll come a point where you may have to stretch away from people, which will feel lonely, but that's why you do these things and change in communities or cultures, so that you can evolve to the type of person that you want to become, rather than be held or stuck back by the people that need you a certain way so that they don't need to change. And just let that sit in the room. That's quite powerful. So who or what holds you back? What is typically habits, behaviors, routines, environments, news, media, social media scrolling, all this kind of stuff. Typically, it's stuff like that. Nikita, I'm going to point at you because I can see you. Make sense? Useful questions? Good. Catherine? I'm just going through the screen now to see. Helpful? And any questions? Again, happy to answer, even if you want to just put them in the chat. Nothing so far, all okay? I tried to talk to you about this before.
What?
Beliefs?
The
chair?
A little bit, not in the chair, no.
So I tried to find a chair with loads of legs,
Right.
and then a chair with no legs. It's really hard to find these images. So any belief that you hold about yourself or the people or the world around you has evidence underneath it, like a leg under a chair, to support that belief. For example, I would say I'm a good speaker on Zoom because the evidence of me doing it and getting feedback is there's lots of legs.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Please add to the leg. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want your approval. I need it. I need it. Please tell me I'm brilliant. Tell me I'm brilliant. Hey, mom, tell me I'm brilliant. Come on, I need it. So if that's true, that for a belief that you want to be true, you just need to stack evidence. Well, then Tony Robbins in Awaken the Giant Within or Unlimited Power would say, to remove the power of a belief that you don't want to be true, you remove the evidence or come up with counter evidence. So for example, anybody that says here, I'm afraid of public speaking, or I could never do that, that's a belief, right? That you may have stacked evidence underneath. We can undo that if we got you carefully, thoughtfully, safely in certain situations. Like I could absolutely make you a brilliant public speaker, stacking evidence under this so that one day you would say, I am, so again, an identity, I am a good public speaker. This is all possible. Does this make sense? So any belief that you want to be true, stack evidence underneath it. I am a good public speaker, and just add the word because, and then stack evidence. In a coaching conversation the other day, this is live. I haven't prepped this, right? But it's so powerful.
So that's good. Like a limiting belief. If you believe
Yes.
you can't do something, then show me the evidence you can't. Show me the legs that you can't.
Stack the legs for the belief that you want. Remove the legs under the belief that you do want or don't want. So we remove the stuff. So I'm not a good public speaker. Yeah, but look, you spoke in public 10 times really well.
Yeah.
So they start chipping away. So then the new belief you then can create to say, I am a good public speaker.
Yeah.
Because look at the evidence that I've stacked.
Yeah.
So this is why something like Toastmasters helps people speak in public, and how they do it. So, no, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. How they do it is they get you doing 10 first speeches. So you stack evidence. All you do for the first one is get up and speak for a minute. Next one is you have a start, middle, and end. Next one you do, I don't know, add a story. Next one, so you stack 10. So you're stacking legs underneath these things. Oh, I can speak in public because of evidence now of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not a good public speaker. Yeah, but you've done it 10 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really powerful. This sounds too simple to be impactful. Any belief, notice any belief that comes up as resistance when you meet an obstacle on the way to change. Notice the belief. That's, oh, I know what it was. And I typed it out. I won't be able to show it to you. Oh, I can. Watch this. Watch this. So one lady that I'm working with at the moment, it would be in this one. This is all live. So this is why I'm trying to make this like this is literally what goes on in conversations all the time. So this person is afraid of conflict in work. So if somebody's more aggressive or more outspoken or disagrees with their ideas, they retreat, they go into like survival and negative nervous system. So they kind of hunker down and play small rather than actually having tools to be able to expand. So some of the things that she said out loud as we challenge you to join a conflict sport class. So the opposite of conflict in work and being aggressive is actually to go and find ways to be in conflict and have to control yourself so that then you don't treat conflict as a bad thing. Like, here's a belief, conflict is bad. Conflict's not bad. Controlled conflict is really useful. Why am I doing this? I need someone to go with me. Belief. I'll talk myself into it. I really don't want to go. All beliefs, we just stack evidence on the other side.
Yeah.
She's going. She's going to achieve it. Hopefully this makes sense. Kerry G, very relatable. Nice. Any other comments or questions? Because I can show it to you this way as well. So between you and your goal, here's a set of beliefs that people will typically, thanks Jill, people will typically come at me with. And I'm like, no issue. But that's not These can all just be stories. They're all just beliefs. They don't have to be true for you. Does any here kind of maybe hands up if they make sense, or you've experienced these before, or they resonate? These make sense? Linda, thumbs up. Thank you. Amy and Andrew, see thumbs up. Amy, thank you. Victoria, see the same. That's me, Rachel. Me too. Don't worry. Heather, I see the same. iPhone, thumbs up. Nice. These will play out, right? So I don't think I can do it. I'm not even sure I want that. So again, no clarity of vision. I don't know if I'm good enough. Other people want something else from me. What if? So all the mistakes or things that could happen in the future. I'm sure they want this. So this is like a putting confidence first before you do the thing. When I feel, then I'll take action towards the goal. So these doubts will play out. These beliefs will play out, and they hold you back from achieving your goal. So each of these, and again, the slides will send them out afterwards, each of these are rewritten to a more empowering belief like this. I can learn how to do this. I've thought about it and I choose this. Feeling you have choice in any discomfort. Workouts that are really tough that you chose to do, like hell and back as a race or something like that. If you choose it, it's not suffering. It's growth or development, or like it's difficulty for a useful purpose to grow you. Or you're adding stress and you're adding recovery. So choosing certain stress is really useful. I know I can become good at this with patience. I'm comfortable being authentic and don't need approval from other people. So these are just rewritten versions of the ones before. These can all be true. I'll take action, then I'll feel confident. So when we talk about confidence, literally that's the model at its most basic. Does this feel useful? Or any questions? Amy, I see you taking lots of notes. Thanks. Victoria, Jill, hopefully useful. Linda?
A reaction.
Catherine, Nikita, make sense? Do you think you could hold some of these a little bit tighter and this previous list a little bit looser? Do you think it would move you towards what you want? Because sometimes that's the thing. It's just a letting go of old and holding on to a little bit more of what could pull you forward. Linda, super catch. How you put this into practice is make it really simple. I'll show you a really simple model for confidence. And it will help you then recognize it. So typically what happens after these kind of things is people feel really good and you go off, and then the first thing that's difficult, it just defeats you. So what's helpful is to have something to remind yourself of. So that's why the recording, the slides, some of the videos that I'll send you, you can use to kind of recap. So Linda, I really appreciate you asking this question, because I don't want people to do nothing with this content. I want you to use it, test it, come back to me if it doesn't work. I'm happy for all of this to be wrong, but in 20 years of looking at this stuff, it's some of the best of what I know. And it's real because I've lived it. I've had to live it. I've felt all of these things, even in the car on the way up here. And all I do is go, nah, there's something more important than your doubt. It's to impact and have a conversation with people today. So how you put this into practice is notice your current reactions in situations. Then what happens is reflect on those actions. And then and that typical reflection or update to actions will happen far away from the thing at the start. Then you get closer and closer. You start updating things a lot more real time. So just reflect on what you might have done differently next time. And then use that for the next time that situation comes up. That's typically the way to do it. Small actions, reflection, action, reflection, Action, update, model, reflect. Did it work? Update, model, did it work? Try on new belief, let the other one go. So hopefully that kind of cycle is typically what works for people. Action, reflection, action, reflection. So you update actions in the reflection, you test out new. We're so afraid of testing out new because we're afraid of failing. Allow yourself to call it an experiment. I'll test this. And it's okay if it doesn't go perfect. It'll never go perfect. It might go better. Better's okay. Hopefully that's helpful, Linda. And again, I'm happy to come back. I'm happy to talk to anybody individually. I'm happy to spend time, more videos. Like I've all this content recorded in lots of videos. Making a tactical, really useful question. An elephant's tooth. So we have 32 teeth. An elephant's tooth. No bother, Kerry. An elephant's tooth is 3 kilograms. 32 teeth, roughly just an elephant's teeth is 100 kilograms. Big animals, right? Really heavy. You can contain a fully grown 3 ton elephant with a small rope if it's under the belief, which it was conditioned to believe as a child, that that rope is stronger than the elephant. So as the elephant grows up, it's still under the belief that the rope is strong enough to hold it back. As the elephant grows and could trample down the full circus, let's say, or safari, that same rope can hold it back. So this is an invitation to think about what beliefs are you holding that are holding you back despite the potential that you actually hold. So an invitation, and hopefully there's no kids listening, I won't say the word, but you'll be able to read it, is to create one of these. So most people have a bucket list. What I want you to do is create a list. And what this means is the things, the beliefs, the habits, the patterns, whatever that is for you, that you want to stop giving a F about, so that you can pay attention to that list and just soften the impact that those things have on you today and how they'll affect you moving and growing into your future. Typically what people will say is, I want to stop giving an F about people's opinions of me. I want to stop seeking approval of others. I want to stop comparing myself to others. I want to stop doubting myself before I do things that are uncomfortable. I want to stop worrying about whether people will like me. All these kind of things, right? So add them to the bucket list and then just see what happens. Catherine, you're pensive. I can see you thinking. Hopefully helpful. Amy, you're doing like art attack. I don't know what's going on there. A lot would be on that list. Victoria, why do you think I have a big journal like this, right? I'm collecting stuff, right? Again, I'm not perfect. I have so much work that I'm doing on myself, but that's why I'm just sharing stuff that I'm using from therapy, coaching, all these kind of things. I've done this for years and I'll never be done. Never will I be done. Neither will you. And that's okay. Here's some kind of examples of some of these type of things. I will be, or I should be. Again, anywhere there's a should, just soften it to could. I should be perfect. I should be better at this. I should, whatever. No, you could be. Softens it enough that it won't have the same impact negatively on you. I should be confident. No, you could be confident. You're not at the moment, and that's okay. So if the expectation is higher than the reality, you'll suffer. So if the expectation is 1,000 people were going to show up on this call, and the reality is we had, I can't even see the number, 50? I'll suffer in the middle there. But we have these expectations of ourselves, these stories, these beliefs. And again, so what good looks like, some mum guilt. Who asked that question earlier on?
I think it was Carrie, was it?
Perry. Expectation. All the time I'll be good at this. Can I tell a story about my dog shitting on the floor?
Absolutely.
So I have a beagle puppy. You saw him at the start. So my expectation, because I'm conditioned to notice where expectations come from, on Instagram, puppies are cute. They're playful. They're always happy. They do what they're told. They are really well trained. And I got this puppy and he shit on the kitchen floor. Right? So my expectation from Instagram was that puppies are like this. The reality was very different. And I suffered in between. I got really angry. Instead of just experiencing more of reality and being okay with it the way it was. He's a perfect puppy. He's doing what puppies do. So why don't we just experience ourselves like that? Amy, yes. Somebody's asked me this before if I'll bring him to talks. I'm like, he's a bastard, like, so I don't know that I'll be allowed to, but I will bring him to an in-person talk. Nikita, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that word, seeing that there's a child. Please, I'm so sorry. Don't use bad language, kids. Elvis is a bold boy sometimes, but I love him so much. He's brilliant. But again, we have these expectations of ourselves, other people, and the world around us, and they're unfair. We suffer, and our relationships with other people suffer, and we never soften those expectations and allow more of reality to just come through. That's quite a deep point. If people want to talk about that in more detail, I can recommend books on that kind of stuff too. So some of our expectations for ourselves are, this is what success will look like, or what going to the gym will look like, or what change will look like. And actually the reality is that this is what it's like. This is what we see on Instagram. This is what we see other people experiencing. When actually you're experiencing this and you're going, how come they're always smiling? How come other people have it so easy? When we compare to other people and how nice their lives are or whatever, we're only seeing above the line. We're never seeing the reality that is also going on for them. Everybody has struggles. Everybody has self-doubt. Everybody experiences fear. Everybody's afraid of failure. Everybody's worried about what everybody else thinks. None of us are immune to this stuff. Just need to talk about it more and say that this is the reality. 100% Victoria. We are holding ourselves to an ideal that is never hittable because we're comparing to 1,000 versions of who we need to be. And so we beat ourselves up because we mess up once. It's crazy. So instead, it's take back the pen, author who you want to be, what good looks like for you, live that, and the feeling of good within you will be profound. Because you're not trying to be others. You're not trying to live up to other people's rules. You're hitting your own. And within you, the confidence that comes from that is incredible. Again, hopefully this makes sense. One really simple mental model that you can use, aim forward. So have a vision of the future that you're aiming towards. So for me, I have a target of how many days a month, or sorry, days a year I work and the amount that I get paid for a day. That's what I'm working on for roughly, I reckon I'll hit it this year actually. This is measure backwards. We don't do this part. We typically focus on negative backwards rather than on the mountains that we've overcome in the past and the confidence and the growth and the skills that we've got from the past. So aim forwards, measure backwards. Really simple. And
forwards, measure backwards. I like that.
Yeah. So Linda, that's one example. Aim forward, have some vision of the future that you're aiming towards, measure backwards kindly. You'll have a negativity bias for survival. It'll spot threat in the past. That's typically why we feel negative or being hard on ourselves. Our brains are literally wired to spot threat. So being hard on yourself is actually just spotting threat to stay alive in real life, in your body. So measure backwards. That will stack your confidence to aim forwards with a little bit more bravery. And then you start living into that. That's quite exciting. Here's more questions that you can use to reflect and kind of think back on how you could measure backwards. So what are you proud of? Pride, to me, is not a sin. Pride is okay to have. Arrogance is having to tell people that you're brilliant. Pride is within. I'm proud of what I've overcome. I'm proud of who I've become. I'm proud of that I'm showing up. I'm proud of that I'm trying. I'm proud of that I'm willing to do the work. I'm proud of meeting doubt. All this kind of stuff. And what have you overcome, or where have you overcome difficulty in the past? If you stack the evidence under these things, your relationship with yourself will improve a lot. Hopefully this makes sense as well.
Like that, Phil.
Yeah.
Aim forward, measure backwards. Once you start measuring backwards, and just as you were rhyming things off there, Dave, things you forget about, aren't they?
Yes.
It's like a fitness journey. If you lost a couple of stone, now look how far you came.
Yes.
You maybe lose, or you maybe gain 5 pounds back on. You start beating yourself up instead of looking back, and it's a really, really good. I like that.
Yeah. So confidence is trust in yourself that you'll handle whatever happens because you've handled the situation, and we forget this part, or the feelings before. So again, Victoria, you said about being hard on ourselves. So that's a feeling. Could be doubt, could be fear, could be insecurity, could be whatever the feeling is. You've encountered that before. So when you encounter this feeling, confidence would be, I know what to do. I have some tools that help me interact with that differently. For example, I have my list of what I'm proud of. I have my list of challenges I've overcome or times I've overcome this before. So your memory softens your response to the feeling of fear or insecurity or being hard on yourself and self-doubt. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe let me pause again, because I see people writing and I don't want to skip on just too quick. Catherine, Linda, Heather, Mark, Jill. Am I going quick enough, fast enough? Rachel, all okay? Any questions? Maybe just Victoria, just to pick up on your point as well about being hard on ourselves. Again, if we go back to that slide of survival versus goal orientated, our brains are wired more strongly, or you could say deeper in our brains and bodies for survival. Goals is nearly a mental thing. Survival is a felt bodily thing. So if that's true, that will be the higher drive survival. And in my mind, so to me, survival is self-doubt. Survival is lack of confidence. Survival is all these negative thinking, negative self-talk. We just experience it uncomfortably, but it's just our bodies prioritizing survival. When we understand that, we stop judging ourselves as bad for having it. We just say it's just one of those things. So I'll remind myself of where I'm good, what I'm working towards, where I'm growing, where I'm developing. Again, reflecting backwards or measuring backwards, the good, not just the bad. And that can make a difference to when we're feeling hard on ourselves. We don't judge the feeling hard on ourselves, because that's sometimes the worst. Feeling guilty about feeling guilty, right? Or judging ourselves for judging. And that can sometimes soften the being hard on ourselves. Hopefully, again, that's a little bit helpful. This is also really simple, but really useful. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you will lose confidence in what you say and yourself because you haven't done it. When you say something that you're going to do and you do it, so you close the gap between these two, well, then that's where confidence lies. It's the same with other people. If somebody says, I'll see you at 11 o'clock, I don't want to slag any tradespeople, but my mom always says, plumbers will say a Monday, but never which Monday, right? So they say, and the do is far away, so there's no trust or confidence. We can use this for ourselves. Commit to something, follow through, commit to something bigger, follow through. Your confidence will increase. So closing the gap between those two things makes a massive difference. And I think that that's where confidence lies. Nikita, thanks for sharing. So is this confidence that you struggle with? And maybe while I think you're commenting. So Mark, I've had a few times I had gains and felt bad for it. And as you said, I've looked have looked how far I've come. Yeah, 100%.
That's good, Mark.
Yeah,
Really good.
really nice. And again, it's good to catch these things. And sometimes, what is it? We don't need to be taught, we need to be reminded.
I really like that concept, Phil. Aim forward, measure backwards. It's great because I can speak to so many people in that probably there today and in the gym, because a lot of them have came a long way, and if they had a little bit of a plateau where maybe they're struggling and maybe they haven't lost weight, or they've gained a wee bit again and maybe lost their way a little bit, just remind them what they've done before, how good they've had, how many sessions they've done, what they've overcome, how much weight they have lost.
And again, we think the measuring backwards has to be these big things. No, you showed up.
Yeah.
On a rainy Tuesday.
Yeah.
You showed up on like it doesn't have to be big.
Yeah.
And Nikita, you're not on your own. So if you struggle with saying something and then following through, that's okay. Narrow what you commit to and make it super small and start from there. Small is okay. So that then you're not beating yourself up that you haven't lived up to bigger, right? And that might just help initially. So soften the expectation a little bit. And maybe you're doing better than you think. You're just measuring against something that might not be hittable. Hopefully that makes sense. It seems really simple. It's very impactful, that. Just say do. Maybe anybody that wants to comment in the chat, or you want to speak out, just message in your favorite movie. And Linda, you said earlier on about how we can put this into practice. When you see these things play out, you'll be like, oh, that's one of those things. That's that model. That's that thing. This is called the hero's journey. Any movie that you really connect to emotionally. So for me, like The Notebook, right? Perfect example. Just kidding. That was meant to be a joke. Nothing wrong with The Notebook. I remember watching it one time on my own in an apartment and I'm bawling my eyes out crying. I'm so emotional watching it. It's crazy. Sorry. That's a side conversation. Any movie that you like. So let's say people say Lord of the Rings. The first step of confidence is never to have confidence first. It's to commit to the journey or the change. The next is, typically when you commit, your body will resist it so much. The way that your body resists change or adventure is to resist it with fear, self-doubt, self-talk, negative thinking, all this kind of stuff, to say, no, please stay caterpillar. Go back to caterpillar. We knew it. It was safe. People knew us. It was fine. Right? So the first step is, no, I'm going to commit to being a butterfly. You choose courage in response to fear. You cannot show courage in the absence of fear. Courage is in the presence of fear. So you choose something greater than the fear. Courage is a part of that path. Then you get good at doing the things. So in Lord of the Rings, they're fighting, I don't know who they fight, elves or baddies or whatever the people are called. When they return home, they come back with confidence because they've had to go through this cycle. When you look back and measure backwards in your life, you'll have made decisions. You'll have had to show courage despite the fear being present. You will have gotten good at the thing, and you will come back with more confidence. Typically, we don't catch this part. We wait for it here because we have forgotten to measure the stories of where we've done it before. I have a podcast called Everyday Heroes, literally interviewing people on, there's 12 stages in that model of the hero's journey, walking people through this, and they get to see the journey. If you want those questions that I ask, I'm really happy to send them through. Anything I talk about here, I'll send you. I'm an open book. I'm so happy to share this stuff if it's helpful.
It's so true, that, Phil, isn't it? That the way you commit courage, capability, and confidence. And most people think, oh, I need to be confident to do this. but they don't realize they have to go through that cycle.
Yeah.
When you see it like that, it's just so straightforward,
It's really simple,
isn't it?
but it's true.
Yeah.
So again, this plays out, test it. So an example, one of the ladies that I'm coaching at the moment is going for a massive promotion, struggling with confidence, massive self-doubt. That's why she came to work with me. We're on a path. We've been working together for a couple of months. We have to keep always going back to this commitment step. It's a big commitment, the promotion she's going for. It's one of the biggest jobs. When she loses self-doubt, experiences fear, it's a recommitment opportunity. So you don't just go through this and then that's it, confidence forever. You recommit to these things often. Do I want to keep showing up? Yes. Okay. If yes, proceed to step 2, courage. Choose courage despite the doubt. Something is bigger and more important that I'm working towards. Get good at doing the thing. Oh, wow, I feel great about myself. Catch these things. It's so powerful. But this plays out. Any movie. Send me a movie when you see this play out. It's crazy. It's really cool. I talked about change causing stress. So here's just a couple of tips. This is the UK model of well-being. In stressful times, recovery is really important. It's called CLANG. So connect, learn, active, notice, give. So connect is the first one. Spend time with people, or for example, what I would suggest is cultures like what's here in Change for Life that are going to be like-minded, growing, developing, even though they're experiencing doubt, insecurity, self-talk, all that kind of stuff. Connect with people. We're all human. We're all trying. We'll never be perfect. That's okay. Be human together. Really useful for your well-being and your recovery. Next is learn. If you learn something new, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a course, skill, learn the guitar, something, anything. Learning something new will help you feel really good about yourself. And it gives you that time for you, which is really powerful. Next is active. Again, you're going to get that here. Moving your body. I qualified as a personal trainer just to understand the impact of physiology on your well-being and on your performance. It's profound. You can quote as much science as people want. It's wild, the difference that comes from moving your body. And if people have experienced things like PTSD or trauma or overstress and burnout and stuff like that, the answer is always in your body. If you've experienced difficulty in your life, the answer is always in your body. Moving it will release some of the stuff that's been built up. The next is notice. This is really around kind of gratitude or meditation or just watching the moment that you're in. If you look right now at the screen or around you or anywhere, I look at Kevin, whatever it is right now, nobody ever has or ever will. This is going to blow your mind just for a second, right? Nobody has or ever will experience this moment again. Or this one. Ever. Right? We forget this. We forget this really simple stuff. There's nobody that will ever experience this again. So it slows us down to, you could say, the speed of life. That helps your well-being because you're not caught in the future of what could go wrong. You're not beating yourself up about where you messed up in the past. You're just right now, in this moment. And then last is give. If you find ways to give to other people, it doesn't have to be, oh, I donated £1 million. It can just be ways to show kindness to somebody, smile at a stranger, whatever that is, it will make a massive difference to how you feel about yourself. Don't know why that went blue. Here we go. So take time to focus on recovery, build it into your week, into your life. Change involves energy, so you must top it up. Really simple exercise I do as part of that Close the Gap program as well is an energy audit. I'm going to tell you the stuff. You don't do the course. Here's the stuff. Wheel of Life is one. This is another one. On a sheet of paper, blank sheet of paper, on one side of the page, line down the middle, what drains your energy on one side? People, tasks, habits, beliefs, stories, whatever it is on this side. And on the other side, what tops it up? What gives you energy? What renews you? What helps you feel good? What makes you feel great about yourself? Find ways to limit these things. Find ways to do more of these things. Spend time with those people, more time with the people that give you energy, less time with the people that take it away. This sounds too basic to be impactful. We do this with the most senior people globally, leading companies, and it's wild the impact it has. Energy is always there. It's typically just placed in the wrong places that take it away rather than topped up. We can create more energy. Why do you think everyone says to me, oh, how come you have so much energy? It's like, because I do things that give me energy and I try and remove the things that take it away. I spent a long time trying to figure that out. And then that's the end of this part. I said 4 hours. That was supposed to be a bad joke. So this is my Instagram handle. I mentioned about my podcast. This is the Everyday Heroes podcast. I've had some really cool guests on it. There's some really good conversations coming up. Let me stop sharing. Let me stop recording.